Sometimes a subject is so nuanced and complex that it is just a pain in the ass to try to talk about it using words on Facebook. So I am going to use videos on Facebook, courtesy of YouTube. Okay, well, I was, you might say, challenged by Miss Hallie Gray in regards to news stories about Sweden. Okay? Which said, well, as you can see, like my response is, why is that? Is there a news story? Let us go to Google News, which I actually take as an unbiased, one of the more unbiased sources of news you can find because they just shit out every other news source you can possibly think of. I've got Forbes, New York Times, Bloomberg, and then when I scroll down a bit more, actually, I bet you will predictably see that Fox News is not covering Sweden. Uh, that's predictable. But anyway, let's just go over the headlines. Sweden stayed open and more people died of COVID-19. But the real reason may be something darker. Ooh, I almost want to click that because that headline, if you read it right, but the real reason may be something besides the fact that they stayed open. I'm gonna have to go there and do the cliff notes to this article. While much of them has months, unlike its neighbors, Scandinavian nations, but the man story. Stop it, you stupid mother. Oh, F this. Anyway, ordering citizens, blah, 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 for him, English speaking world, blah, 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 blah. New analysis from Uppsala University in Sweden and the University of Virginia School of Medicine confirmed that this simplistic storyline, but also finds both silver linings and a potentially darker explanation for the pandemic's death toll in the country, which it has been confirmed, at least with some of the more recent things I was able to pull up. Yes, they have the fifth highest per capita death rate apparently in the world, but they're right next to like the main segment of the European bloc. Even though UK just removed itself. Where was that? I've got to find this picture that I just posted, and it's might be a bit odd. Why I feel so vehemently about this. Okay, so ahead of Sweden here, we've got France, UK, Italy, Spain, and Belgium. Now, listen, the outlier there that doesn't belong with the other ones is Belgium, even though maybe I'm hating on Belgium. But Sweden per capita is better than France, UK, Italy, and Spain, and Belgium? Okay. So back to Google News. Oh, wait, back to Forbes. While more people have died than in many other countries, the outbreak of the disease did not crush the nation's healthcare system, and it did not overload that. Blah, 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 blah. The implication here is that Sweden chose to emphasize personal responsibility, yada, yada, yada. They're actually spinning that in a relatively, well, they're spinning that in a relatively, I guess I'm going to have to call it stupid. Um, and also, Sweden, quite frankly, where they probably fucked up, may have not been doing what they should have done harder. Yes, I know that's not going to be a very popular opinion. That they should have done what they did harder. Like, yeah, really. Like, okay, let's get out paintbrush. We'll get to Eric later. Delete. Okay, ready? I'm just now, yes, this is not going to be extremely scientific, but I'm trying to elucidate a point. Okay, so this is a graph of what happens case-wise when you do corona and you take absolutely no measures to do that. You get a nice bell-shaped curve peak like that. Okay? That's doing nothing, and then, ready, at this point here, roughly probably about here, once you're over this, hospitals are totally fucking overloaded. And ready, this is a case rate graph I'm making. Once you cross this line, fucking, the death rate fucking skyrockets because hospitals are overloaded. And this is what every country in the world was trying to avoid, an overloading of the hospital system, rationing of ventilators, etc. Now, delete. Let me show you what a measured response to COVID looks like. Okay, so first we have the viral outbreak. We're going up parabolically, okay? Then we start taking measures to stop it, and the thing starts to go like that. Then the measures become effective, and we flatten out. And here is the problem with the methodology that every single country in the world is currently using. You stopped the huge spike, and you kept stuff below this line where the hospitals are overloaded. But guess what? This line here, now that you've kept case rates low, well, the volume under that curve is extremely likely. Well, actually, no, that's not the right time to talk about curve volumes. But what you're doing is you're dragging out the virus for years. Whereas doing nothing, which I'll do in white, doing nothing would have done this. Ready? Boom. Ready? Worldwide, 10 million people die, but then herd immunity is reached, and guess what? Boom. The viral rate drops essentially to zero. That's what doing nothing does. And I have a high suspicion that the volume of this curve, yeah, that didn't work out great at the end. The volume of this and this, well, that's the thing is I don't even think they're equal at this point because the way things are going now, what you're doing is you're keeping the virus in a holding pattern and drawing it out for potentially fucking years when this could have been like the 1918 Spanish flu where we could have just been done with it. Many people would have died. We would have been over with it. But you guys have chose to try to protect human life. But guess what? The fact that this line keeps going for an inevitable, it keeps going until we make a vaccine. You very well might end up having more deaths over time than doing just absolutely nothing. If, let's say, they can't create a vaccine, it's very likely they'll be able to, but let's say they can't. Then, if there is no vaccine for COVID, and ooh, this is the magical virus unlike any other virus before, so maybe it doesn't have a vaccine. Ooh, boogeyman. Anyway, this line here, if this line keeps dragging on for several pages to the right, you will get more deaths at a slower rate than you would have gotten doing absolutely nothing at all. And that is one of the arguments I'm making. And this argument is over exaggerated. Well, I guess it's just exaggerated. I don't know if stuff can be over exaggerated. But that would have been hard to put into just a Facebook post. Now, do you know what I need to do? I need to actually get data, make real graphs, do real plotting, do real stuff. I need to call on assistance from some of my friends who are smarter than me. Um, you know, I need to actually do research. What I'm saying is that I hate Trump probably more than anybody else on here. Like, if lightning were to strike Trump, I would be almost as happy as I was when Justice Anthony Scalia died. Retroactively, though, I almost wish he was still alive. Anyway, um, the virus really, really, really shouldn't be a partisan issue, and the left loves to point at the right and say that no mask-wearing Trumpers are being partisan about a virus. I'm gonna say that you super mask-wearing Obama fans are being just as partisan as the Trump people, just in a different way. And at the end of the day, you guys seem like you're courting what I call a permanent new normal where essentially I understand wearing masks to get over coronavirus, but there's gonna be somebody's gonna raise the idea, hey, shouldn't we be wearing masks during every flu season? Because if you give a 90-year-old person the flu, you very well may have killed them. So now we're wearing masks for the rest of our fucking lives. And I'm sorry, I'm not subscribing to your new permanent normal based off science that we really haven't gathered the fucking data on yet. I just can't do it. And that has put me at odds with almost 100% of my liberal friends. That's fine. I mean, quite frankly, we're going to see who's right. I've pointed out into the outfield like Babe Ruth, and I've made a prediction. My prediction is that 1 month from now, I believe just about every single area in the United States is going to be on a downtrend. You're going to be like, that's the thing about all the curves I'm making, except for this curve that goes on in perpetuity because you just like you do social distancing in mass, but you don't do anything to increase immunity at all. Anyway, all of the curves, they're called curves for a reason, is that they go up and they go down. And I am pointing out in the outfield and I'm saying that this is the week that Florida and all these other places that are not New York hit their peak. New York hit its peak. We are now over our peak, and we're damn near back to normal. And we're a much, much dirtier and denser population than you could ever wish to be. You know, even in California, like even in Chicago. Dirtier and denser, baby. So just take that as food for thought and fuck Donald Trump. That's all I have to say.